Human beings were working on creating this geared and cogged machinery that reflected the patterns in the sky.
Oh, is that a recreation of it?
That's a recreation of something like it, yeah.
In 1901, divers found something in a shipwreck that shouldn't have existed. A device so advanced, so impossibly complex, that when scientists finally understood what it did, they realized ancient Greece had technology that wouldn't be seen again for over 1,000 years. This is a computer built 2,000 years before the first modern computer, and we still haven't fully decoded everything it can do.
When we first looked at the results, it was astonishing. We've had to rethink the history of technology completely as a result of this single object. It's such a clever, extraordinary, sophisticated machine. Completely shocking for ancient Greece.
"120 years ago, sponge divers discovered a shipwreck off the tiny island of Antikythera in Greece. And what they found changed our understanding of human history forever."
Welcome to Curobox, where we investigate the world's most baffling discoveries with the depth they deserve. Today, we're diving into what's been called the most mysterious artifact ever found, a machine that proves everything we thought we knew about ancient technology was wrong. If you're here for the first time, subscribe now. We drop investigations like this every Sunday. And make sure you watch until the end, because what modern technology revealed inside this device is absolutely mind. Let's go back to 1901, to a group of Greek sponge divers who were about to make the archaeological discovery of the century. Easter 1900, and a group of sponge divers from the Greek island of Symi are returning home from a diving expedition off the coast of North Africa. They're sailing through the treacherous waters between Crete and the Peloponnese Peninsula when a violent storm forces them to seek shelter near a small rocky island called Antikythera. The name literally means opposite Kythera. It's remote, barely inhabited, just a speck in the Aegean Sea. While waiting for the storm to pass, Captain Dimitrios Kondos decides to send his divers down to search for sponges in the area. At a depth of about 45 meters, that's nearly 150 feet, diver Elias Stadiatis makes a discovery that has nothing to do with sponges. He surfaces rapidly, reportedly in a state of shock, talking about finding dead bodies and horses on the seafloor. The captain thinks he's suffering from nitrogen narcosis, the Benz diving madness, but Captain Kondos decides to dive himself to verify what Stadiatis saw. What he finds is extraordinary. It's not bodies and living horses. It's an ancient shipwreck littered with bronze and marble statues, their forms preserved on the seafloor for centuries. This isn't just any wreck. It's a treasure trove of ancient art. The divers immediately understand the significance. They report the discovery to the Greek government, and by November 1900, the first major underwater archaeological excavation in history begins. For 9 months, these sponge divers, working with the Greek Navy, recover statue after statue, bronze limbs, marble torsos, luxury goods, pottery, glass vessels. It's clearly a cargo ship, likely Roman, that sank around 70 to 60 BC while transporting looted Greek treasures from the eastern Mediterranean, possibly heading to Rome. But among all these statues and treasures, something else comes up from the wreck. Something that doesn't look like much at all. It's a corroded lump of bronze and rotted wood. encrusted with 2,000 years of marine growth. The archaeologists catalog it, note it, but nobody pays much attention to it. It's just another corroded piece of metal in a shipwreck full of spectacular art. The artifact sits in storage at the National Archaeological Museum in Athens. And then, on May 17, 1902, something happens. The corroded lump splits open, possibly due to drying out. Inside, gears are visible. Bronze gears, precisely cut, meshing together in a complex mechanism. An archaeologist named Spiridon Stais is the first to notice what this means. This isn't just a corroded lump. It's a machine, an ancient machine with gears. And that should be impossible. See, in 1902, historians believed ancient Greece didn't have this kind of technology. Gears this sophisticated weren't supposed to exist until medieval Europe, over 1,000 years later.
It was not recognized at all as being anything interesting when it was discovered. It was just a corroded lump about the size of a large dictionary.
But when, in 1902, it was discovered that there were gear wheels inside it, everyone suddenly got rather excited.
This was the first shock because anything from ancient Greece simply shouldn't have gear wheels. These were precision gears with teeth about 1 millimeter long. And this was just completely shocking.
The oldest known geared device before this discovery was from the Byzantine era, centuries after Rome fell. But here was proof, physical, undeniable proof, that ancient Greeks were building complex mechanical computers 2,000 years ago. The initial reactions ranged from fascination to skepticism. Some scholars suggested it must be from a later period, that it somehow contaminated the wreck site. Others argued it was too complex to be ancient at all. But the evidence was clear. This device was encrusted with the same marine life as everything else in the wreck. It went down with that ship around 70 BC, which means it was built sometime before that, during the height of ancient Greek scientific achievement. For decades, the mechanism remained a mystery. Researchers could see gears, could see bronze inscriptions on the fragments, but couldn't understand what it actually did. The device was in dozens of pieces, corroded beyond recognition in many places. Early theories suggested it was an astrolabe for navigation, or perhaps some kind of astronomical clock. But as more researchers studied it, they realized it was far more sophisticated than anything they'd imagined. So what are we actually looking at here? Let me describe what survives. The Antikythera Mechanism, as it's now called, originally would have been housed in a wooden box about the size of a shoebox, roughly 34 centimeters tall, 18 centimeters wide, and 9 centimeters deep. The front and back faces would have had bronze plates with inscriptions, instruction manuals, essentially explaining how to use the device. Inside this box was a system of at least 30 bronze gears, possibly more, all interconnected in a precise mechanical computer. The front face had at least 2 dials. The main dial showed the Greek zodiac calendar and the Egyptian calendar, 2 different systems for tracking the year. Pointers would move across these dials to indicate positions of celestial bodies. The back face was even more complex, with 2 main spiral dials that tracked longer astronomical cycles. But here's what makes this truly extraordinary. This wasn't just displaying random information. This machine could predict the positions of the sun, the moon, and possibly all 5 planets known to ancient Greeks: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. It could predict lunar and solar eclipses, not just whether they would happen, but where they would be visible on Earth. It could track the Olympic Games cycle. It compensated for the irregular orbit of the moon using mechanical genius that European clockmakers wouldn't rediscover until the 14th century. Think about what this means.
I think it was conceived as a calculating machine that would calculate the theories they had. They had astronomical theories, but could calculate those at the turn of a handle. So it would demonstrate how you could look ahead, say, what's the position of the moon going to be in 5 years' time? You could turn the handle. It would tell you almost immediately. This is a massive step forward in the history of science and technology. Something we take for granted now. But in those days, the idea that your scientific theories could be mechanized, the predictions could be mechanized, was absolutely astonishing.
2,000 years ago, someone in ancient Greece understood astronomy well enough to build a mechanical computer that could model the movements of celestial bodies with remarkable accuracy. And they had the metallurgical skill, the mathematical knowledge, and the mechanical engineering capability to actually construct it. This single artifact rewrites what we thought was possible in the ancient world. Before we get into how modern technology finally revealed the mechanism's full secrets, quick favor, if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I did researching it, hit that like button and drop a comment with your theory about who built this and why. Seriously, the comment section on these videos is where the best discussions happen, and I read every single one. Now, let's talk about how it actually worked. For most of the 20th century, researchers could study the mechanism, but understanding it was nearly impossible. The bronze was corroded, fused together in places, broken into fragments. But one researcher became obsessed with unlocking its secrets. Dr. Tony Freeth, a British mathematician and filmmaker. In the early 2000s, Dr. Freeth led a team that used cutting-edge technology to peer inside the mechanism without damaging it further. They used X-ray computed tomography, essentially medical CT scanning, but adapted for archaeological artifacts. They also employed a technique called polynomial texture mapping, which uses multiple light sources to reveal surface details invisible to the naked eye. What they discovered was staggering.
Instrument of mathematical astronomy. It's intensely rich in mathematics. It's not complicated mathematics, it's simple arithmetic and it's simple geometry, but put together in an absolutely beautiful way.
As a child, I learnt about the mechanism and I was absolutely fascinated by it. And I often wondered how researchers, scientists ever got to work on something so remarkable.
According to Dr. Freeth's research, the mechanism worked like this. There's a hand crank on the side, now missing, but the mounting for it is clear. When you turn this crank, it rotates the largest gear, which is connected to a complex system of smaller gears through a sophisticated gear train. The gear ratios were carefully calculated to model astronomical periods. Here's the genius part. The ancient Greeks knew the moon doesn't orbit Earth in a perfect circle. Its speed varies depending on where it is in its orbit. This is called the lunar anomaly, and it's caused by the elliptical nature of the moon's path. Modern science didn't fully understand this until Kepler's laws in the 17th century. But whoever built the Antikythera mechanism knew about it, and they found a mechanical solution. They used something called a Pinan slot mechanism. A small pin on one gear fits into a slot on another gear. As the gears turn, this setup creates a variable rotation speed, mechanically mimicking the moon's irregular orbit. Dr. Freeth describes this as a stroke of genius. It's the first known use of this principle in history, and it shows an incredibly sophisticated understanding of both astronomy and mechanics. The back dials tracked longer cycles. One spiral dial showed the Metonic cycle, a 19-year period, after which the phases of the moon repeat on the same calendar dates. Another dial tracked the Saros cycle, an 18-year, 11-day period that eclipse patterns repeat. Using these dials, an ancient Greek astronomer could predict exactly when and where eclipses would occur, years in advance. Dr. Freeth's team also discovered over 3,000 characters of ancient Greek text inscribed on the mechanism, essentially an instruction manual and astronomical reference. The text reveals that the device was meant to be used for teaching and demonstration, showing how the cosmos operates according to ancient Greek understanding.
Revelation. Out of that data has come nearly all the breakthroughs in recent decades. Came the discovery that it predicted eclipses, that it followed the variable motion of thousands of text characters in ancient Greek, which tell us how it worked. It displayed the ancient Greek cosmos, the sun, moon, and planets, in a sort of ring system. It brought back the history of technology to a much earlier time. It is completely astonishing that the ancient Greeks firstly had the conception of making this technology, and second, the ability to actually physically make it. We've had to rethink the history of technology completely as a result of this single object.
But here's where things get even more interesting and a bit controversial. So here's where we stand today. The Antikythera Mechanism is recognized as the oldest known analog computer, a device that combines astronomy, mathematics, and mechanical engineering in ways that shouldn't have been possible in the ancient world, according to what we previously believed. It's been called the most important scientific artifact ever recovered from antiquity, but massive questions remain. Who exactly built it? Was it Archimedes, the legendary Greek mathematician and engineer? Some researchers think the mechanism shows signs of his mathematical approach. Or was it built by someone in his tradition, perhaps on the island of Rhodes, which was known as a center of astronomical study and home to the famous Colossus? Why was it on that ship? Was it being transported as a valuable gift? Was it looted treasure heading to Rome? Was it a teaching device for a wealthy patron? We don't know. And here's perhaps the biggest mystery. Why don't we have more of them? If Greeks could build this in 100 BC, why is this the only surviving example? Did bronze recycling destroy all the others? Or was this knowledge genuinely lost, buried by the collapse of ancient civilizations and the chaos of the early medieval period? The Islamic scholars who preserved much of Greek knowledge into the Middle Ages don't describe anything like this mechanism. European scholars in the Renaissance who studied ancient texts found no references detailed enough to reconstruct such a device. The knowledge seems to have vanished. It took 2,000 years, and modern technology, X-rays, CT scanners, computer modeling, to finally understand what ancient Greeks built with bronze, wood, and mathematical genius. And even now, researchers continue to discover new details. As imaging technology improves, as new analysis techniques are developed, the Antikythera Mechanism keeps revealing secrets. There's something profound about standing in front of this corroded piece of bronze in Athens and realizing it represents knowledge that was lost for 2 millennia. It's a reminder that ancient peoples were far more sophisticated than we often give them credit for. It challenges our assumption that technological progress moves in a straight line, always forward. Knowledge can be lost, capabilities can disappear, and sometimes the past was far more advanced than we ever imagined. The Antikythera Mechanism sits in the National Archaeological Museum in Athens today, still holding secrets, still challenging our understanding of history, still asking questions we can't fully answer. It's a 2,000-year-old computer that reminds us how much we still don't know about our own past. So what do you think? Is this the peak of ancient Greek engineering that we just haven't found other examples of? Or does it represent something more, lost knowledge from an earlier time, a glimpse of capabilities that somehow disappeared from history? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I genuinely want to know what you think about this. If this investigation into one of history's most mysterious artifacts fascinated you, make sure you're subscribed to CurioBox. Every Sunday, we dive deep into phenomena and discoveries that defy explanation. Next week, we're looking at the Dilotov Pass incident. You won't want to miss it. Hit that like button if ancient technology mysteries are your thing. Share this with anyone who thinks they understand what the ancient world was capable of. This mechanism proves we're still learning. The past is full of wonders we haven't uncovered yet. Let's keep digging. I'll see you in the next investigation.